What is good, Raider Nation? It's your boy Raider Alex back with yet another video for you guys. Anybody that is new to the channel, you guys love Raiders related content like this, make sure to like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Now, according to NFL insiders, these final 4 games of the 2022 NFL season will determine whether or not Raiders quarterback Derek Carr will continue as the quarterback of the Raiders heading into next season. The Raiders' upper management and head coach Josh McDaniels feel that with the return of Darren Waller at tight end, Hunter Renfrow, and you combine that with superstar wide receiver Davante Adams, star running back Josh Jacobs, and what they consider an NFL starting O-line, they feel like this is enough help on the offensive side of football for Derek Carr to excel. Now, before the Raiders went on their 3-game winning streak, I definitely saw the writing on the wall when it came to Derek Carr. So this news doesn't necessarily surprise me, because if the Raiders ended up missing the playoffs this year, which at the moment it is very likely, look, the Raiders, they can still make it in. They have to win all 4 of their games and they have to depend on other opponents. But with that being said, look, more than likely the Raiders are going to miss the playoffs this season, and at that point I think they would look at somebody to put the blame, somebody to be the scapegoat. And at that point I think the guy they have to look at is the quarterback position, the guy who has been there the longest. Look, owner Mark Davis has been vocal about how he believes, and head coach Josh McDaniels, how he believes he's doing a good job, and it seems as though he will be patient with this new regime. So ultimately I think this leaves Derek Carr as the odd man out on this team. And ultimately with Derek Carr, I think it just boils down to the fact that this new regime does not fully trust Derek Carr. I don't think they are confident that they can get over the hump with Derek Carr at the helm of this offense. Let's go back to offseason last year when it came to extending Derek Carr. Look, that was not the first move that GM Ziegler made. To be honest, it took quite a while for them to even seal up that contract, seal up Derek Carr's extension. And when they did sign him to that extension, they really just showed their cards on how they felt about Derek Carr. GM Dave Ziegler deliberately gave himself an escape plan if things were to go south with Derek Carr this season. If the Raiders cut Derek Carr 3 days after the Super Bowl this year, the Raiders will only have a $5 million dead cap hit and essentially save about $30 million just from moving on from Derek Carr. Now, I think this was a smart move by GM Dave Ziegler, because let's be honest, he never drafted Derek Carr. They have never worked together, so it would be dumb for him to fully commit to Derek Carr long term without at least getting a full year with this new offense to see how he does. So not only did our general manager not fully commit to Derek Carr, but throughout this season, we have seen that McDaniels and Derek Carr, it seems like something isn't right between them. Most notably last week against the LA Rams, where we got that terrible loss. We saw that McDaniels and his play calling became extremely conservative after Derek Carr threw that terrible interception in the red zone right before half. And the red zone is somewhere where he has struggled throughout his whole career. And to be honest, I think that turnover completely shifted the momentum away from Las Vegas and gave the Rams some life. Last week, Derek Carr had a terrible game. He threw for 137 yards, 0 touchdown passes, 2 interceptions, and only attempted 20 passes. To me, that last game really just showed me that McDaniels is not confident with Derek Carr as the quarterback of this team, because that was a must-win game. The Raiders are on a 3-game winning streak. We have to beat the Rams, a team that we should have beat. If we could have beat them going on a 4-game winning streak, we are really building some real momentum to potentially sneak into the playoffs. With that being such a must-win game with running back Josh Jacobs banged up, if Carr was your guy at the quarterback position, you would have been more aggressive going down the field, especially with Davante Adams. He has been on fire lately, and he was very productive in the first half. But everything changed from the play column after that interception. I think this will be Derek Carr's last year as the starter for the Raiders. Personally, my biggest issues with Derek Carr has been his inconsistency, his mobility, and ball security. Because as we saw last week against the Los Angeles Rams, when Derek Carr plays bad, boy does he look absolutely terrible out there. And look, this is not the first time that we have seen this from Derek Carr. Look, it happened earlier this year against the Saints, where he had an absolute terrible game. And if you look at every year throughout his career, he's due for at least one terrible game like this every year. The inconsistency is just really what has bothered me and a lot of other fans when it comes to Derek Carr. Look, personally, you ask me, I'd rather have a player that on a scale of 1 to 10, he can give me a 7 out of 10 week in and week out, because at least I know what I can get from him on a week-to-week basis. I know how I can win with him. But with Derek Carr, some games he plays lights out, a 9 out of 10. He looks like an MVP at sometimes. And then some games he looks like an absolute mediocre quarterback and plays terrible. Consistency is what separates the good players from the great players, and that is what Derek Carr has been lacking. Also, I wish he could use his legs more on a consistent basis. The guy, he's athletic, but for whatever reason, he doesn't do it on a consistent basis. Sometimes it looks like he's gun shy in the pocket, and we have seen when Derek Carr can use his legs, when he can extend plays, when he can get out of the pocket, when he can run for a first down, he looks like a completely different quarterback. Derek Carr also has a fumbling issue. He fumbles the ball way too much, which is something I don't think he will ever improve on. It's been an issue that he has faced since his college days. Now, with Derek Carr likely not staying unless we go on a 4-game winning streak, and not only do we get to the playoffs, I think we have to win that wild card game. We have to get a playoff victory. That's really the only way I see Derek Carr saving his job at this point. So with this being said, who do I think Josh McDaniels will look to replace him next season? Personally, I think McDaniels is going to look into free agency for a veteran quarterback familiar with this offense as a bridge quarterback. And I think we will draft a quarterback until they find someone who they can believe in and potentially become the future starter. I think you should definitely draft a quarterback this year. If you can't draft a quarterback that you absolutely love, then you draft one in the 2024 NFL draft. But either way, you draft a quarterback for the long-term future of the quarterback position. Now, the natural top candidates in free agency to be the quarterback next season would be Tom Brady. Yes, I said Tom Brady. And look, I understand a lot of Raiders fans that are going to absolutely hate that name, hate that topic, hate that option for the quarterback. Look, I understand I have despised Tom Brady for all my life, but this guy, let's be honest, he is a proven winner. He knows this offense, and although he is 45 years old or whatever it may be, at the very least, if you get Tom Brady, we would have a real leader in that locker room, someone that is going to demand excellence on this team and somebody who knows how to win. Not only that, I think Josh McDaniels would love to have Tom Brady. I think having Tom Brady will just absolutely make his life so much easier as the offensive play caller. Not only that, this offense still has so much talent with star wide receiver Devontae Adams, Darren Waller. You got Josh Jacobs, Hunter Renfrow. I still think Brady could be productive with the Raiders, especially with a strong running game like we have had with Josh Jacobs this season. Also, another name that I could consider is Jimmy Garoppolo. Now, this is definitely a drop-off between like a Brady and Jimmy Garoppolo. But look, at the end of the day, say what you want about Jimmy Garoppolo. He's also another guy that's going to be familiar with the Josh McDaniels offense. Say what you want about him, but he got the 49ers to their Super Bowl. Now, either way, moving on from Derek Carr and getting either one of these quarterbacks or any other quarterback, to be honest, unless we get a superstar quarterback, in any one of these situations, I think we still are going to have to rely on a strong ground game with Josh Jacobs, and we will still have to build up the defense, which if we move on from Carr and we get a guy like Tom Brady, who is currently only making $25 million per year, and Jimmy Garoppolo is currently on a 1-year, $7 million contract. If we remember that Derek Carr would make $35 million next season if we were to stick with him next season. So if you can sign a guy like Tom Brady for a team-friendly deal around, say, $25 million per year, the Raiders will still save about $10 million moving on from Derek Carr. So with that extra money, you can invest more money into the free agency on the defensive side of the football. And I also think you're going to have to go defense heavy throughout this NFL draft, especially in those early round picks. But regardless of what happens at the quarterback position, whether somehow Derek Carr ends up staying, if we move on from Carr, if we get a veteran quarterback, regardless, I think the Raiders still need to draft a quarterback this year and possibly next year until they find a quarterback that they really are confident in that can be the long-term starter for this team. Ideally, you get a rookie quarterback, you have him sit for about a year under a veteran presence, and eventually he can make that leap to be the starter, and hopefully we could have our long-term guy, our franchise quarterback for the future. But Raider Nation, it would be interesting to see how Derek Carr responds in these next 4 games with his job reportedly on the line. Shit, for all we know, he may come out and ball out and make this be a real decision for this front offense in the offseason. But as I said, really the only situation I see Derek Carr being the quarterback next year is if we go on a 4-game winning streak, we make the playoffs. Not only that, I think we have to win a playoff game. If you can do that, that's really the only way I see Derek Carr sticking around as a Raiders quarterback. I think Josh McDaniels doesn't trust him. I think Dave Ziegler will like to move on from him, look at different options. So I think the road for Derek Carr staying as a Raider is uphill. We'll just have to see how he performs in the final stretch of this season. But with the Raiders being 5-8, they still got some tough opponents that we're going to face to end this season. It'll be interesting to see how this team responds after such a terrible loss to the LA Rams. That loss absolutely just devastated me. It just also totally brought me back to the reality of this team. It seems like this team is not going to be able to make the playoffs, but we will just have to see in these next 4 games. But Raider Nation, let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Do you guys think Derek Carr will be the quarterback next season? If not, who would you like to replace Derek Carr? Let me know down below. But that being said, Raider Nation, that is all I have for you guys in today's video. Anybody that is new to the channel and you guys love Raiders related content like this, make sure to like, comment, subscribe to the channel. With that being said, I will see you guys in the next one.